Dave Ramsey has sold over 11 million copies of his books. He's had over 5 million people go through his Financial Peace University and has over 18 million listeners to his show every week. And while a lot of the information he talks about specifically in his baby steps is really good information, there's some of it that I strongly disagree with. As someone who reached a low level of financial independence at 24, I think if I had actually followed his steps, I think it would have taken me between 10 and 20 years longer to do the exact same thing following his steps. So while a lot of what he talks about is a great place to start, some of it could actually slow you down a bit. Baby step number 1, save $1,000 for your starter emergency fund. Now, 58% of Americans have less than $1,000 in savings. That's an insane amount of people. And I actually don't have much of a problem with this first baby step. I think it should probably be closer to $2,000, where $1,000 might have been enough quite a while ago. With inflation, it might be closer to $2,000 now. But I agree that the first step for anybody is to build up an emergency fund. So if something happens, if you get in a car accident, if you have a medical deduction that you have to meet, if you get a flat tire, anything like that, you build up a little bit of a buffer so that when those bad things happen, the unexpected expenses come up, you don't get into more high interest consumer debt. So I don't really have a problem with step 1. But now we gotta look at step 2. Pay off all debt, except the house, using the debt snowball. So first of all, the debt snowball, for those of you who don't know, is just the idea of paying off the smallest debt you have first, regardless of the interest rate, and then getting a small win, moving on to the next one, the next one, the next one, eventually building up to tackle the bigger debts. Now, the reason that he recommends this is strictly mental. It can encourage you when you get a small win, you knock out one of your debts. And honestly, I totally get that. However, mathematically, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Let's look at some numbers. 45% of families carry some sort of credit card debt. And the average American car loan is $26,000. And the average student loan debt is $32,000. So in general, we just have a lot of debt. However, all that debt is not equal. For instance, if you're paying 4% for student loan debt and you're paying 17% for credit card debt, but your student loan debt is smaller, you shouldn't pay off the 4% before paying off the 17%, because mathematically it's 13% more expensive. Just mathematically, it doesn't make any sense. In my opinion, the best approach to paying off debt is the avalanche approach. This is going for the highest interest debt first and working your way down to the lowest interest, but you're gonna stop at generally around 5 or 6%. If you have something below 5 or 6%, it's actually gonna be better long-term to invest that money instead of paying off that low interest debt. However, for those higher interest debts, those need to get paid off first. Now, Dave Ramsey also talks about not worrying about your credit and getting rid of all credit cards. I strongly disagree with that as well. While if you do have credit card debt and you can't control your spending with them, then by all means, get rid of them, say goodbye. Bad, just bad, 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 bad. But if you can treat a credit card like cash or a debit card, then it's just free money. You can get like $50,000 or $100,000 sign-up bonuses. I'll leave some in the description so you guys can check them out. You can save a couple percent on everything that you spend. But of course, credit cards do only work when you're paying them off at the end of the month. And if you can't do that or you struggle with that, then by all means, get rid of them. But having good credit and getting free money are two things that are kind of helpful in life. So while the overall idea here is good, making blanket statements don't necessarily apply to everyone. Everybody is so different in their situations. Baby step number 4, invest 15% of your household income into retirement. That is a great start. And if your goal is to work until you're 65 and then retire with like $1 million or $2 million in the bank, amazing idea. However, if you're like me and you want to reach financial independence in the next 3 to 10 years, this is just not going to cut it. You got to be a little bit more extreme. If your savings rate is at 15%, it's going to take you 41 years to build up enough money that you could live off of that money indefinitely. So for me, I'm a little greedy and that's just not fast enough. And I know for some people, it's going to seem impossible to get even to 15%, but you can get past that. If you're really serious about financial minimalism and reaching early retirement in the next couple of years, you're going to need to make some big life changes that will make bumping up your savings rate possible. If you can get to a 50% savings rate, you'll be able to retire in 16 years. And if you can get that to 75%, you're gonna get there in 7 years. I know it's possible because I've been through all those steps. I had like a 75% savings rate when I actually, had a job and something to save. And it's possible by doing big, drastic changes, like doing a house hack and being able to live somewhere rent-free. Most people spend 30% of their budget on housing. So if you're able to eliminate that, boom, you're at a 30% savings rate. You're like halfway there. Then your next biggest expense is usually transportation. And you can get that a lot lower by doing something like car hacking, where you buy a used car that's old enough that it doesn't have a lot of a depreciation, but not so old that it's gonna start needing repairs. So like 7 to 10 years old. Buy it for a good price in cash from a private person, drive it for 2 to 4 years, and then sell it. And generally you'll be able to make almost exactly what you paid for it if you got like a somewhat decent deal when you bought it. I've done this a couple times and actually made a profit when I sold my car. So I literally got paid to drive my car instead of having that be a big expense. If you guys want to check it out, I just wrote an ebook with 50 ways to lower your expenses by 1%. It's totally free. You can just use a link down in the description, enter your email, and I'll send it to you. There's just a lot of different small things that you can do that don't actually have a big impact in your life that can lower your expenses a lot and make you getting to freedom a possibility in the near future, not when you're 65. Baby step number 5, save for your children's college fund. This is where the hate starts coming. As someone who didn't go to college and didn't finish high school, I would say that college is becoming less and less necessary, especially if your goal is to reach financial independence and just be able to do whatever you want for the rest of your life, do the work you enjoy, not have to stress about your finances. Then college is absolutely unnecessary. Education, learning stuff, knowledge, totally necessary. What you actually learn in school, mostly worthless. And on top of that, about 40% of college students don't actually use their degree, so there's a high likelihood that it won't even be a good investment of money. And you have to really calculate the ROI of will you actually earn that much more because of your college degree that will end up paying for it, and how long will that take? Would you have a better use of that $20, $40, $100,000? And I can say 100%, yes, I can find a better use for that. However, I am having a child soon, so this is something I have been thinking about, and I've talked to a lot of people about and consulted other people who've done similar things. And I do think that it is important to help your children if you can. And there's a few ways of doing this. One is to make sure that you have enough in retirement first before paying for their college funds. The reason you want to do that is because you don't want to run out of money in retirement and become a financial burden to them in the future and have to move into their basement, which is a very common thing. So kind of like in the airplane, before you put the mask on somebody else, make sure that you can breathe first so that you don't die trying to help the person next to you. That took a very harsh turn. The second thing is to make sure you are financially educating that kid by talking about your finances, being open, setting up different ways for them to learn. That's like a whole nother video. But something that I'm doing is setting up a joint investment account with them and putting in enough money so that they can see the effects of compound interest, and putting in a little bit of money each year and making sure that they invest a certain percentage of their own money that they get from whatever they get it from, so that when they're 18, they have this chunk of money that they can either A, use as a down payment for a house hack so that they can eliminate housing expenses and pretty much have whatever job they want in the world without ever having to worry about housing again, which is just like an unfair advantage from the start. Or they can take that money and they can put it towards their college or towards starting a business or whatever they want to use it for. This is just personally my approach. I know everybody's different. College can be a great thing for some people. If you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer or a pilot or stuff like that, then 100% you need to go to college. But if you have no idea what you're going for and you're just going to party and to blow a bunch of money, I'm not personally going to encourage or discourage my kids to go to college. It's definitely a choice, but college does not equal success or happiness. Baby step number 6, pay off your house early. I will go so far as to say,
this is terrible advice.
This can literally add years to your working life, make things be a lot harder than it has to be, cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. I understand the idea behind it, and it does sound nice to be completely debt-free. However, the only advantage of this is being able to say that you're completely debt-free and having the peace of mind that comes with that, so that's totally understandable. Another reason to do this is if you are near retirement. There are definitely reasons to do that as well. However, if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, it doesn't really make a lot of sense mathematically. Let me explain. Let's say that you have a 30-year mortgage of $200,000 with a fixed rate of 4.5%. Your monthly payments would be $1,013, not including taxes and insurance. You would spend a total of $164,813 in interest over the life of the loan. Now let's say that you could come up with an extra $300 per month to put towards your mortgage. You would shave off 11 years and 1 month from your repayment period, and that would save you $67,816 in interest. And that's as far as a lot of people look, but they're missing out on the opportunity cost. Let's say you take that same $300 a month and you invest it into the S&P 500. Historically, the S&P 500 has returned on average 10 to 11% since it started in 1926. If you want to be extra conservative, let's say that you make 8% on your money. That's definitely attainable for anybody just investing in index funds. Again, it can be a lot higher if you're investing in business or real estate or anything like that, but let's just say 8%. At the end of 19 years, which is how long it would have taken to pay off your mortgage early, you would have $160,780. That is more than double how much you would have saved. And at that point, you would have had about $105,000 left on your mortgage. So if you decided then that you wanted to pay it off early, you could pay off the rest of the mortgage early and still have over $55,000 extra. He also recommends having as big of a down payment as you possibly can for a house, as well as only buying rental properties in cash. Mathematically, that just doesn't make sense. While it does eliminate the risk that you have in the market, it also adds a ginormous risk, in my opinion, guaranteeing that you're gonna have to work 10 years longer than you could have. Baby step number 7, build wealth and give. This is where I totally kind of come back on track. Although I think you can really be building wealth throughout a lot of these stages. You don't have to wait till the very end. But regardless, giving is super important. I also don't think you should wait to give till the very end. I tithe and really believe in giving away at least 10% of your money throughout this entire process, with the goal of being able to give away a lot more. Now, a lot of what Dave Ramsey talked about is really good information. I think it's just a little bit too much blanket statements that ignore some of the math, but overall it's really good information, especially when you're just getting started, but eventually you do have to move past it. Now again, if you want that free ebook, link is down in the description. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next week.